What's going on, everyone? It is Mike back again, back on the Blue Boys Network. We have John, the taxi man, with a plan, a strategy, an ideology about where Everton need to become, be better, just do things in a better way. John, welcome back to the channel. Apparently, according to most, you are the better part of the Blue Boys Network, so it's a good job that you are back to save the day, because the channel's been terrible without you, mate. Terrible.
It hasn't been terrible without me. I think I'm just more of the comedy side of it. You're the straight serious side, and you need both, don't you? So I'm glad to be back.
You are funny to look at. Right, let's just get straight into it. Right, Everton. What do you make of the start of the season, John?
For the football side of it, league games wise, I think we really only probably put one bad performance in, which was against Aston Villa. And we spoke about this today, Michael. The first game of the season, I think Everton, I read somewhere, Everton created more chances in that game than what any Premier League team had done since the beginning of last season. We just didn't have anyone to put the ball in the net, which has been a common problem for us, especially when we've had Calvert-Lewin out for the times that we have. Couldn't rely on Neil Maupay. He's gone on now. We brought Beto in, scored a couple of goals, but we look dangerous, Michael, going forward. We have got the attacking players now to create the chances for us, hopefully, and Beto was no centre-half. I'll enjoy playing against Beto. So it's good that we've brought him in to ruffle feathers. He will create chances for other players. He'll create chances for himself as well. And we look so much better with having a player like that in the team. So I have no problem with us scoring goals. The problem we've got is keeping them out, because we spoke about this again today. I think what Dyche needs to do now is settle on partnerships all over the pitch instead of chopping and changing it, because we have had good, we have had, what's the word I'm looking for? We've had good performances apart from Villa. I'm taking Doncaster out of the equation because I thought that was a poor showing by Everton, to be fair. But going back to the league, I'm not too fussed about the performances. I was fussed about not scoring the goals and wondering where they were going to come from before we brought these forward players in. It's the defence that worries me, Michael, and that's exactly what you said today. And I said to you, we need partnerships. We need to settle on a central defensive partner pairing. We need to sort the midfield out instead of chopping and changing it and playing James Garner on the wide. That's not his position. And we need to sort out what we're going to do up front when Calvert-Lewin's fit. Do we go 4-4-2? We spoke about that. But I am positive, Michael, for the fact that the performances have been better in creating chances, just not taking enough chances at the minute. But I think the goals will come. It's the defence that worries me.
Yeah, I think you nail it, to be honest, John. I think I have a couple of questions and a couple of frustrations, and people may be able to answer in the comments, to be fair. But like we discussed earlier, me and you were on about the signing of Beto, the signing of Chimiti, who are two strikers. Obviously, they've let Maupay and Tom Cannon go, which, with Tom Cannon, I am a little bit disappointed because he did seem to be taking it by storm almost. His opportunities that he'd had in the Championship and other divisions, he seemed to be doing well. So I'm disappointed we got rid of Tom, especially when Chimiti is equally as young and as not as established, etc. And it's almost like you're getting rid of an academy player who's played for Everton for all these years, not really give him a chance, and then you've brought in another equivalent academy player, but you're going to give him a chance. I just don't necessarily think it's right or fair, but it's just an opinion. The big thing for me, and you have mentioned it, is the defence, because at times this season we've looked awful. Defensively, we've looked shocking. James Tarkowski has, in my opinion, left a lot to be desired. I've been quite disappointed with him. We saw it last season, to be honest. We did see at times last season he can be a good leader and he will put his body on the line and he's dedicated. We saw all the positives, but we did also see a few negatives last season, like the giving the ball away really easily, not reading the game great, not necessarily having the pace to get back. All these things can cost you, especially in the Premier League. Jared Branthwaite has come in, and to say he's been an upgrade on Michael Keane is an understatement. I mean, Jared Branthwaite, for me, is probably the best naturally talented centre-half at the club. I'm going to caveat that answer, though, because I have also said the same thing about Mason Holgate and Ben Godfrey in their first seasons that they've had. You know, I remember when Mason come in for the first time, I thought he was fantastic with the ball. It then turns out he can't read the game. Ben Godfrey was fantastic up until COVID and his ankle injury. So I've said it before, but Jared really impresses me. He reminds me a little bit of John Stones. Doesn't necessarily carry the ball as well as John, but let's be honest, John is a very, you'd probably argue, a generational talent. But then defensively, Nathan Patterson, he keeps coming into the middle, so he keeps leaving his man on the left-hand side. I'm expecting we joked about it today. Well, you joked about it today, but I'm expecting another Sidibe shout from you anytime soon, John. You know, you're going to go viral again.
Coming. It
is coming. And then, obviously, we've got a 38-year-old Ashley Young who has been at fault for some goals this season, doesn't really get out to his man quick enough. Mikalenko, we can sit here and criticise all day, let's be honest, so we probably don't need to. So it's the defence that does worry me, especially when, you know, you've let Yuri Mina go. I know he was on big money, and I know we haven't got loads of money, but, you know, I would have loved to have done something to just give him another year and maybe help us have that transition away from getting rid of Michael Keane, etc. And in the games where we've been in, you know, the Fulham game where we lose 1-0 and the Wolves game we lose 1-0, both goals we concede are from really poor defensive errors. So yes, we should have won the game. You know we should have. We could have scored 3 each easily in both games, but we didn't. And when we were called upon to defend, we were shocking. Like, we were shocking. The goal we conceded against Wolves, you know, from the whole moment of it, you know, from the cross coming in that Ashley Young doesn't stop, from the fact that the striker gets in behind James Tarkowski, which I think is absolutely criminal, and then for the fact that Pickford doesn't come out and command the ball, you can blame all three of them. Then the goal against Fulham, it's giving the ball away from a throw-in again. It's just poor football. They had a couple of chances. Wolves also hit the post. I mean, we seem to forget that Wolves didn't just score one; they could have scored a couple. That lad that they've got up front, I can't ever remember his name. He could have scored a couple of goals. So I'm really concerned about the defence. I'm more concerned about the defence now than I am about the attacking element, because as much as we could sit here and say that, you know, we should have got 7 points, a minimum, in my opinion, we should have is 3, because we should have drew those games and not lost them.
It's what I said to you today, Michael. This season, the way the defence is looking, we're going to have to win games 3-2 or 4-3. You know, going back to what you said there, the crosses are coming in far too easy. And when you've got defenders who aren't picking their man up or letting their man get in behind them, if the cross is coming over so easy, you're liable to concede goals. That needs sorting out. To have a manager who was more or less consistently in a relegation fight with Burnley, he had to have a solid defence for something to build on, to do his best to keep Burnley in the Premier League. Now, what I'm seeing, he hasn't brought that defensive solidity to Everton, because we look a shambles at the back. And this is why I said to you today, we're going to have to win games 5-4, 4-3, 3-2 if he doesn't sort that defence out, it comes to something when we can sit here, and I might get shot down for this, but it's all about opinions. Our best two fullbacks at the club are probably Seamus Coleman and Ashley Young. We've spent £700 million, and I know we always bring the figures up and what have you, and I know the financial restraints we've got over us now. Forget them for a minute. We're talking about why we're in this position now. Again, you look at the fullbacks at the club. You're not going to not concede goals with having a Seamus. I know he's been out injured, but even when he comes back, we'll still be worried. But I trust him more than Nathan Patterson at the minute. And Ashley Young, everyone knows my thoughts on Mykolenko. Ashley Young, for me, is better than Mykolenko. Still now at 38, you know what I mean? But our fullbacks need to stop whether it's Patterson, whether it's Coleman, whether it's Young, whether it's Mykolenko, they have to get tighter. I said to you, Michael, how many times is Patterson doing a Sidibe and coming in and standing where the centre-backs are and giving their wingers so... Exactly. But it's not just this season that happens, Michael. It happens with Coleman. It happened with Leighton Baines. I don't know what it is with our fullbacks and what they get told by whatever manager's in charge. They get dragged into the centre where the centre-backs are. You're allowing them to either whip the ball in or actually run in with the ball and then bring the midfield into play. It's so easy, but it's common sense. You're a fullback to mark the attacking wingers or midfielders.
The one that you mentioned there, the one from last weekend against Sheffield United was an absolute joke because before it happened, you can see the switch of the ball over to Cameron Archer, who takes a lovely touch. And you can clearly see Nathan Patterson running towards James Tarkowski in the middle of the park while the ball is in midair. And while the game was on, bearing in mind, I'm in Mallorca, we're watching the game on the telly, and I've said to Dad, where's he going? Like, where is he going? And within 15 seconds of him running into the middle, Cameron Archer gets a shot off from the edge of the box. He bounces off Pickford and goes in. The first goal was bad enough where the ball comes across the box and the centre midfielder, whether you want to blame Garner or Decorah or Anana, whoever, no one tracks the striker. No one. So Ollie McBurney gets a lovely, easy little touch, lays it off to Archer. No one is on Archer. This isn't just like defending basics, mate. This is like, if me and you can sit there and see it, and 40,000 Everton fans at Goodison and 3,000 to 6,000 away fans defending on the stadium, what are they learning? Because it's not improved this season. It's not improved.
Defensively,
it's actually got worse.
It's got worse. And the bad thing about it is, Michael, you've sat there in the ground with me, or you've watched it on the telly. Before Everton concede a goal, most times you can see what's going to happen 5 to 10 seconds before the ball hits the back of the net. You can see the pattern of play, our fullbacks getting pulled in, or the midfielders are losing their man, or Tarkowski's letting his man get in behind him, but you can see it developing.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it. So if we can see it 5 to 10 seconds before the ball actually hits the back of the net, or as you say, 40,000 Everton fans can see it, or what have you, have we got a defensive coach at the club? Just stick with the defense. Just do that. Just do your job and stick. Do your job with them defenders. Let all the other coaches get on with the rest of the team, because that defense is not blessed with pace. It's not blessed with very good readers of the ball.
Yeah.
So we need to get the best out of these defenders as we can, because we're going to concede time and time and time and time again. So then we're relying on the attacking players to get us out the shit.
And we've lost 4 attacking players with the replacement of none of them in the last week. Neil Maupay, he plays his best 45 minutes for Everton on I mean, don't get me wrong, he's against a Doncaster team in League Two, fair enough. But he plays his best 45 minutes in the blue shirt, goes on loan to Brentford.
Yeah.
Tom Cannon doesn't get an opportunity, goes to league leaders Leicester for £7.5 million. So he's clearly got something about him. We've lost Amari Gray today. Look, whatever the reasons are behind the fallout or whatever's happened, I remember last season, me and you sitting there, we were starting Neil Maupay for 5 games in a row, and Damari Gray comes back in and scores the goal. It was very obvious from day one that Sean Dyche did not fancy Damari Gray. It was very obvious. I don't blame Damari Gray being a little bit annoyed at that. I don't, because every footballer wants to play football, but there's a right way of dealing with it, and I don't necessarily think Damari's dealt with it very well. He's got his move, he's moved on. You almost leave it there. Fair enough. He's gone. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the goal against Arsenal, for example, where we won 2-1. All of that stuff. No biggie. Move on. Losing Iwobi. Me and you have got discussions about Iwobi. I'm not bothered. There's people on here that will say he's the most creative player and all of that stuff. Me personally, I am not bothered. Iwobi's gone. But I would have liked to have replaced them with some creative footballer with a bit of a brain in the middle of the park. Because again, me and you discussed this today. No matter what formation we play, there isn't really a player that appears to be in our team that has the capability of a sort of a defence cutting pass. The closest is James Garner, but he's been playing out on the right wing, and equally, we haven't really seen him in centre midfield, so I can't actually sit here and go, yeah, he will cut a defence open, eye of a needle pass. I don't know. So I sit there and I think the ball is going to go long, it's going to go into Beto, and you're going to have Danjuma, Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil running around
following it,
Yeah, and then I do
majority of our goals this season, they're going to come when we get the ball out wide, it gets crossed in, or as you say, a long ball. Beto wins it, holds it up, and he has players running off from in behind. Because we're not going to score with a defence splitting pass because we haven't got no one capable of the club of doing that.
No, but doesn't that speak volumes about where we are? And then the other thing, we get linked with Willie Nonto all summer. I mean, we apparently put in bids for 20 million, 30 million, up to 35 million. I mean, I was in conversation with Connor the whole time, and Connor was saying these bids are going in, Mike, but Everton have been told for weeks he is not leaving. So instead of focusing on another winger, we leave it until deadline day to try and make an approach for Sulemana, and Southampton go, yeah, nah, lads, he's not going today.
But this is the setup we've got behind the scenes, Michael. The people who are in charge are bringing players in, as you quite rightly pointed out today. We haven't paid a penny for Beto until the next financial year, next year. Why didn't we get him a month ago if we knew that?
Yeah.
Why didn't we bring him in a month ago if we knew we didn't have to pay nothing for him until next year?
But
Going back to Notto, well, we would have had a striker at the beginning of the season, so we probably beat Fulham. We probably beat Wolves. But the thing is, Michael, we put all our eggs in one basket with Gnotto, whatever his name was, when, as you quite rightly said, Connor was saying, you're probably not going to get him. Move on. I said this to you, Michael. I was sick to death of hearing the words, Everton have put a bid in, Everton are about to put another bid in, this is the last bid. Move on. We've wasted too much time on Gnotto, and then we ended up bringing Jack Harrison in, who's injured. We've let Iwobi go. Okay, everyone knows my thoughts on Iwobi. As you quite rightly said, it's squad depth. Everton have actually got 26 first-team players in the squad now to use. It's not enough. It's not enough. Again, Damari Gray, it looks like he's upset a few people at the club. Reading things, it looks like he's done it when he went to abroad, just before he come to Everton. Looks like he done it at Leicester. So we can't sit here and just have a pop at Dyche for not playing him. But obviously, he's a bad egg.
Yeah.
Should he have put it on social media? No, he shouldn't have put it out on social media. And what have you done? What I did like about that, though, Michael, is Sean Dyche doing the video and explaining what had happened with Damari Gray when he went in and he said, look, there's a move agreed with going to Saudi Arabia, and Sean Dyche apparently said, "Is there? We'll decide that." But the thing is, Michael, going on to the club itself, that's the first time we've heard from anyone apart from a pre-match press conference or an after-match press conference. So we come out and he put the fans straight. What is happening with Tamari Gray? Silence is deafening. The club's on its arse. But that's why we're in the position in with this squad size now, Michael.
I mean,
and I know you've been. I know the club's really got you down, and that's why you haven't done videos. I actually said to you today, should we do a video tonight? And I know, and it's hard when the club is run so shit, and we haven't won a Premier League game in 4. It's hard to talk about it. It's hard.
Do you know what? I didn't even do a match reaction after the Sheffield United game. You know, I've had people messaging me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Are you all right, Mike? How are you getting on? Blah, blah, blah. I'm absolutely fine. I'm just fed up of the back teeth of going into videos and talking about Everton in such a negative way. Like, people think, right, that this is... I don't mean to dig anyone out, but I am about to dig out a lot of people. But so many people have this obsession that anyone that sits behind a camera and talks about Everton are deliberately negative for views. Some people just can't accept the fact that we are just a little bit shit. You know, we are in an absolute mess. We were talking about the financials behind the club today, and somebody had wrote a really long piece about different situations that Everton are in and investors and all of that stuff. John, it's an absolute whirlwind of emotion being an Everton fan, and none of it at the minute is really good. You know, we go into deadline day and people are thinking, oh, we're going to sign 3 or 4 players, me included. You know, the day before, I think the Liverpool Echo had said it's going to be a busy day on Merseyside for Everton. Nothing. And that was the same in January when Mashiri said, we'll get you a striker. He didn't. You know, I sit here and I just think the club is ran like a joke. And look, I'm not Sean Dyche's biggest fan. Everyone on this channel knows I am not Sean Dyche's biggest fan. I mean, Sean Dyche knows I'm not his biggest fan. I mean, the worst thing that happened was putting a tweet out saying that he was... I can't remember what I said. But anyway, he repeated the exact words I'd said in my tweet, and it had to be my tweet because it had something like 500 retweets and 2,000, like whatever it was. So it was clearly he'd seen my tweet. So my point that I make to Sean Dyche is, tactically, I get it. I get we're a mess. I get this, but I don't think he's helped the situation. I don't think starting Michael Keane was the answer. Michael Keane was not the answer at the end of last season either. I don't get that. But the problem I have, and it is a serious problem, is I can't see the light at the end of this tunnel from a financial perspective with Everton. We've got an owner who was in bed with a Russian oligarch who now, I believe, has no access to money, which means we're having to fund everything ourselves when we've got debt up to our eyeballs because of an owner who doesn't know how he's managing a football club, with a chairman that doesn't have a clue and hasn't had a clue for 35 years. You've got people pulling strings of other people. The only positive that I would argue has come out of this season is at least Kevin Thirlwell appears to have done the transfers himself. He appears to have done the incomings himself because he's got a good deal with Beto. He seems to have got a good deal with Chimita. I don't have an issue spending £3 million on a loan fee for Danjuma because I do think, I mean, Danjuma was valued at Villarreal for 33 million and has scored 18 or 20 goals in that season.
He improves us.
So I don't have an issue with any of this. But Kevin Thirlwell's hands are fundamentally tied. But I also think the club has let Kevin Thirlwell down and Sean Dyche down. So I sit here and I'm thinking, I'm not a massive fan of the manager. I don't get the tactics at times. I certainly don't get the substitutions at times, but I also do not blame him. So you know, me and you were talking today, and we were looking at our fixtures ahead. You know, we've got we've got Arsenal at Goodison. We play fairly well against Arsenal, but let's be realistic. Most people would expect us to lose. You then go away to, I think it's West Ham. Don't hold me to any of these fixtures, guys, but it's something like away to West Ham. Then we've got 2 home games against Luton and Bournemouth, games that you'd expect Everton to win, albeit we've already lost at home to Wolves and Fulham, so nothing to given, by the way. Then we've got another difficult away day at Liverpool. You're talking 5 games. We've already played 4. We've got 1 point. We could have 7 points in 9 games. Me and you, but we've seen managers sacked for less. We've seen managers sacked for less. And then the other issue is, and we discussed this today in mega detail, was you've got billions of pounds. Well, I think it's about £1 billion of total debt that sits on Everton in terms of Mashiri's input into the club and the 300 million to the stadium. Something like 1.1 billion, I think we were talking about earlier. Right? So no one is going to buy Everton for £1.1 billion. No one. I'd be shocked, right? So then you've also got the issue where you bring in you sack a manager. You try to bring in a manager, but his hands are literally tied behind his back. He's literally said, this is what you've got. You've got, I think we've got 1 domestic loan left or 1 European loan that we might be able to utilise in January. That is it. That is it. So if we're going to sign anyone in January, there will be loan signings. Who's going to want to invest in Everton? Who's going to want to manage Everton? And more importantly, what players are going to want to join Everton if Everton are, in the bottom 3? I am really worried about this season, and I am not trying to come across as negative. I'm not trying to be a views merchant, but I am so passionate about the direction of this football team. And the simple fact of the matter is, me, you, everyone watching this video has been let down by different departments of this football team over the last 8 years. And I called this out 5 years ago. I said Mashiri would be a mistake. It was abundantly obvious with the signings he was making. Got shut down. I got shut down when Walsh what was it? Marco Silva got let down in a transfer window. We've been shut down again this season. I've been shut down for Dyche. And I sit here and I just think, do you know what? You want a match reaction. You want these videos. You want me to talk about it. What's the point? Because when I give my opinion, you shoot me down.
Everyone's entitled to an opinion, so don't stop the match reactions, because this is what I always say. I'll probably get shot down, Michael, because it is negativity, but I have no positivity left with this club because they've drawn every bit of positivity I had in my body connected to Everton Football Club out of me. Things don't improve while Mashiri's not there. This is another one of my opinions. I actually don't think Mashiri's ever owned the club. I think he's a puppet for Usmanov. Now Usmanov's assets have been stopped, frozen. He's had to withdraw all the sponsorship deals from within Finch Farm, from within Goodison Park. There's a lot of money gone. I read something, Mashiri is getting watched what he spends. So the club is surviving day to day. And I'm telling you now, if we're still in the same position by Christmas, and I've seen a lot of people talking about administration on Twitter, and then I've read the comments and they're going, you're just being negative. Everton will never go into administration. Hang on a minute. See the wood for the trees. Liverpool were that close to going into administration until the Royal Bank of Scotland got them out the shit. So if they can get that close, then I'm sure to God there's a chance Everton could go into administration straight away. If an investor comes in and gets the club for 500 million, brilliant. It keeps the club going. The problem you've got, Michael, is that 12-point deduction. We spoke today. If Man City get it with these big charges and a points deduction for their hearing that they've got coming up, they could lose 12 points and probably still win the league.
We said this. We said this.
If we lose 12 points, we're down. We're down.
No matter what the Premier League do in our hearing in October, because what Man City one is after, They could say to Everton, right, you've got a 6 point, a 10 points deduction. And then people are saying, oh, you've got to do the same for Manchester City, if not worse. Okay, so you've give
Makes no
Everton a
difference to
6.
them.
You give Everton a 6 or 10 point deduction. You give Man City 12 or 20 point deduction. I mean, if Man City lose 20 points, they probably still finish in the top 4.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the difference. 6 points to us this season is probably the difference of staying
Massive.
in the Premier League. And
Yeah.
if you fine us, if you fine us 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, whatever, then you're just going to see players like Pickford and Onana leaving the club. You're going to see assets being stripped, and then we're already in a bigger look. I don't, and I said this to you, in terms of the financial element, I don't think it's as bad as what people think. Yes, it's bad. I'm not saying it's not bad, but I don't think it's close to the administration bit. And the only reason I think that, yet. And the only reason I think that is because we seem to be reining it in. So with the money that we are saving in players, I mean, if you go back to this Everton squad 4 years ago, the wages on the book then were massive, because I think there would have certainly been James Rodriguez 3 years ago. James Rodriguez, Amina, there'd just been a Wayne Rooney, there was a Sigurdsson, there was an Iwobi on 100 grand, there was big players on big wage.
I think I've seen something today, just to throw figures at you regarding that. I think I've seen something today with the players that have left this summer's transfer window. Everton have saved 45 million in wages.
There you go. And the big thing that you're looking at is the income to wages number, which for Everton historically used to be around 80%. Then what happened is Farhad Moshiri come in. We had a massive summer. We bring in Michael Keane and Pickford and all of that. That percentage ends up at something like 90-something%. Then after that, it ends up over 100% at one point. It ends up at over 100%. Shocking numbers. It
the club's running at a loss, and you don't have to be, I was going to say an accountant, but Moshiri's an accountant. Look at the situation the club's in. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see the club is losing money practically on a daily basis. It is. But all the money that's being brought in has gone on this stadium. And I said to you today, Michael, I know it's going to be brilliant, and I know Everton have got to move. It's just everything at once, and I would have preferred to not bother starting to build this stadium, get our finances in order first, because we haven't got the money to finish it. Yeah, so if we don't get an investor, and if we don't get someone to buy the club, again, it's loan after loan after loan after loan again to finish that stadium. You look at Arsenal. Arsenal have really only just started spending money since they built their new stadium. We can't afford to do that. So if someone doesn't come in and backs this, and I know there's things 777 are favourites to come in, I'm sorry. We may as well keep Moshiri and Kenwright at the clubs to bring them in, because whoever's out of them is going to run us into the ground.
The problem we have is and again, if there is financial restrictions behind Moshiri, and we already know Bill Kenwright hasn't got the money. We know he hasn't. I mean, I joked with you today, but obviously he got a payout for Moshiri at one point when he sold his shares. I mean, the other option is that Bill Kenwright becomes our investor again, and he puts 40% back into the club. And that look, I'm not saying I want that, by the way. I'm not, because I don't. But it does solve a potential £150 million problem if Bill Kenwright is sitting on 150 million quid. I don't know. But if you bring in an investor like 777 Group, we see this track record. I think it was Standard Liège had a protest about them. I think other clubs have had similar issues with them. The problem you've got is Everton might not have a choice from a financial perspective. Like, it's literally, you either take a loan out or you go into administration. And that loan just unfortunately happens to be 777. You're in between a rock and a hard place as to which one you go with. And my problem is with this 777 group is the feedback that you read about is horrendous. The financial backing of them, I don't quite think they're as loaded as. The money element
I don't
concerns me.
think they haven't. I don't think they've got as much money as Machinery's got.
It concerns me with them about where the money's come from. So that concerns me, because the last thing we want to do is get into bed with more financial stuff with people that end up being bad people. I said to you, and I stand by this, and I am not saying this would happen, but if Mashiri really cared about us,
he doesn't.
Well, if he did, he comes out, he throws this one thing, I'm committed to Everton. He does it once a year. I'm committed to Everton. We've got long-term plans, blah, 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 blah. He does it every year. He comes out with that one statement. If he was that committed to Everton, he would take a loss and he would ring up every single investor that looked at Manchester United, and he would say, there is a Premier League club here with a stadium ready to be finished, with a fan base that is very passionate. We know they need work. They'll cost you a sixth of what Manchester United would cost. Why don't you invest in Everton? And at least out of the 10 potential buyers of Everton, of Manchester United, one of them might consider going, do you know what? Yeah, why not? They've got the history, they've got the fan base, they're going to have the stadium. Let's kick on with it. But you never hear of these things. Apparently there's 2 potential groups interested in Everton. I don't even know who the other one is, but we've heard all of this before. I used to hear this when Bill Kenwright was the Everton chairman and the Everton owner, and he used to say, oh, we're looking for someone to buy Everton. We've had positive talks. He used to come out as if he was being open and honest with us, when really he was just lying behind everyone's back. The club
laugh at the fans, mate. I'm telling you now, the club laugh at the fans, and they're constantly lying at us because they're not asked. This club's not asked. And I've said this to you before about the protests that happen. I have nothing against the protests. I really don't. I've marched once or twice up to Goodison,
Yeah.
But, and this isn't against anyone who protests against the board, because I've done it myself, having a problem with it. Keep it going. That's what I say. Keep it going. I will join in.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
They're not asked.
Yeah,
do you think enough. Them too? Well, it's not enough. 3,000 people walking up Spellow Lane from the Royal Oak. Do you think Mashiri and Kenwright are going to go, shit, we've got 3,000 fans want us out the club or marching against us? It's not enough. It's not enough. These people aren't asked. How long has this gone on now where they haven't been welcomed back in Goodison? They know the fans don't want them involved in the football club. They know the fans don't want them in the grounds. In my opinion, you'll never see them at Goodison again. But they're still lying to us. They're still coming out with this shit. We will get a striker. Mashiri said in January. We didn't. Mashiri's coming out. There's this many people talking. I'm looking at so many. We're lied to. So do you honestly think these two are bothered with 3,000 fans marching up Spellow Lane? They're not. It needs more. We need to do more.
It needs more. And the problem is, the only way of hitting these people is the financial element. But unfortunately, if we do the financial element, which is basically season ticket holders don't go to the game. We don't buy pies. We don't buy lunchtime reflect. We don't buy shirts. You don't.
But Michael, the season tickets not going to the game doesn't affect them because the season tickets are paid for.
No, but what I mean is, when you go to the game, you'll buy a pint, you'll buy a pie. You probably put an extra 12, 15 quid into the club every weekend, don't you?
Don't go on the club shop.
Yeah. But my point is, for the fans that don't have a season ticket, like me, don't go. Don't go. The problem you've got is if you do that, if you stop going to the game, and if you stop buying shirts and you stop doing all of that, it doesn't actually affect these people. It affects us because it
The
just
club.
runs Everton into the
Yeah.
ground. So as fans, we are in between a rock and a hard place. So
Yeah.
we cannot win.
But
We
they
cannot
know
win.
this.
Yeah, all we can do is sit there and almost beg them. Beg them. I mean, look at me. Beg them to get out of the club. And that is literally all you can do. Because no one, I don't know about you, but I mean, I've got 12,700 subscribers and I love you all. But I'm pretty sure we couldn't club together and buy Everton Football Club. I'm pretty sure we couldn't. But I would love it. I would absolutely love it if us as fans, all of us, could all chuck in, I don't know how much it would cost, could all chuck in money and get rid of these people in charge, because I'm telling you now, until something absolutely meteoric happens, we're not going anywhere but down.
No, we're not. We're not. And this is the thing, and this is what I said to you today, Michael. It's all about consolidating the football club until we get to the new ground. You know, it completely changes. The outlook, the whole perspective changes if we're in the Premier League when we get to Bramley-Moore.
Yeah.
But how confident are you that we will still be in the Premier League in 18 months, 2 years?
Well, again, we spoke about this. Now, if our team, as it is right now, doesn't get any injuries, which means the bench is probably stronger than it was last season, because, you know, there's an attacking player on the bench in terms of, you know, a McNeil or a Danjuma or a Harrison. One of them will have to go on the bench. You can't play all three of them. You'll have one of the central midfielders, either an Onana or Garner Gay or James Garner or Decore on the bench. So again, the bench has got two first-team players on it. You're going to have a Calvert-Lewin or a Beto on the bench. So you've got three options to change games already, which, let's be honest, we didn't have last season. I mean, we were putting two goalkeepers on the bench and kids. We had nothing.
Still doing it.
Yeah, so if we don't have any injuries, I think we finish about 14th, John. I think we finish about 13th if we have no injuries. I really do. But if we have injuries, we could finish 18th. I don't think, no matter what, no disrespect to Luton and Sheffield United, I don't think we finish below them clubs. But Burnley have got some actual decent players in that team. They've got some real quality, and they've got a manager who is clever enough to get them out of trouble if they really need to. He will change the style of play. He will make them more defensively difficult to beat. He's trying to play expansive football that he's struggling with. My point is, if we have injuries, our squad is so thin with very little to back it up. We're in deep trouble.
Especially when you look at the defence. You know, we're one or two injuries away in that defence of a catastrophe defensively. You know, we can probably afford the odd one in midfield or up front. You know, probably afford that.
You can
defensively. If for example, Seamus Coleman's 6 weeks away apparently still. Do you know if Patterson gets injured?
Which he does, by the way. I mean, Patterson does have injuries. It's not like Patterson is, you know, Patterson was injured last season.
Injury free, yeah.
So Patterson and Coleman get injured. We've already seen Ben Godfrey play on the right hand side of defence. No disrespect to Ben, he's not a right back. I mean, he's definitely not a right back. So he gets pulled out of position. Then you lose a centre half. You know, Jared Branthwaite has a a hamstring injury. So Michael Keane comes in.
To come in. Yeah.
Then Tarkowski gets injured. You're then looking at your defence, going, we're in trouble.
Yeah, but one or two injuries away defensively from an absolute car crash. Defensively, midfield, as you say, it's a bit more strength and depth in that department. Up front, we've got a bit more option, especially when Calvert-Lewin's back. Danjuma can also play up front, so we're sort of okay
as
there.
Well.
And Chimiti, I don't actually think he's ready. Yeah, he's going to take time, but that's my opinion. But defensively, one or two injuries away from really struggling. But I think it's down to being in the Premier League when Bramley-Moore opens. But I actually think, again, this sounds negative, I actually think this gets worse before it gets better.
I think we're about to find out. I think October could be really telling. I think whatever comes out from this hearing, I think that will define what happens with Everton this season. I really do, because if it's a transfer ban for next season,
I'm not being funny. I'd take that anyway, because we hardly bring anyone in anyway. So I'd take that.
Yeah, I would, and then everyone who's in the last year of their contract is being offered a new deal. Everyone, because we just physically couldn't cope without the numbers.
Yeah. Or a fine, as you say, a fine. Pay the fine out to the overdraft that the club will have.
But if you
points deduction is unthinkable.
If you take a fine, if it's not a silly fine, and I mean silly by like 50 million plus, we probably cope with that, because, to be honest, we sell one of the assets. We sell Onana, and you know, we've got different opinions on Onana. That's fine, but we sell Onana. That's the solution to that, because I think if Everton said to most Premier League clubs, right, we've got Onana, you know, he's valued roughly at 50 to 60 million. We need to sell him because we need to appease financial fair play. Will you accept? Would you go in for him at 40 to 45 million? I think somebody signs it. The
problem you've got with selling Onana, I know it's only an example, but we still owe his club that we signed him from £11 million.
Yeah, but
so I know you'd only use them as an example. So what you're basically saying is it's got to be a saleable asset.
The other point, though, John, and remember, is we've just got in 22 million for Iwobi. We've just got in 7.5 million for Tom Cannon. There was Moise Keane, Anthony Gordon, all of that money coming, and we've spent none of it. We've literally spent none of it.
I think it's funds on the ground.
I don't know where it is, mate. But the point is, it's somewhere. It is somewhere.
If Mashiri's got someone coming in to invest in the club 25%, right? Is he really going to spend that money himself? Is he going to allow that money to go into the club? No, he's not. Because he wants to start filling his pockets again, doesn't he?
I don't want an investor. I don't want an investor.
I want a clean sale, but as you said before, who's going to buy us, Michael, unless the value that we spoke about today is literally halved?
Mashiri has to take a loss. He has to take a loss, and
actually don't think it's being Mashiri's money personally, but
yeah, but and that's it. Yeah, but he's the front man for it, and he's the front man. You've got to this is the dark side of football that you're never going to know about, isn't it? You know, where's the money come from and all this dodgy stuff. But being realistic, I don't care who the money's come from. I just want someone to take half of the money and jog on. Like, I am finished. And my issue is, none of this is personal. I'm convinced Mashiri bought Everton for the right intentions, and I'm sure Usmanov was really hopeful when he spent all that money, and Mashiri spent all that money in turning Everton into one of the big superpowers. I'm sure that was the plan, but it went south really, really fast, and they didn't know how to fix it, and they have just spiraled out of control. It's like I can give you the best example in the world. It's like a gambler getting unlimited amount of loans time and time again, because he's just going to gamble that money until he's got none of it left and have shed loads of debt. That's Everton Football Club. That is Everton Football Club in an absolute
They don't know what they're doing. And this was a perfect example. I think we've mentioned this on here before, Michael. I can see why Stan Kroenke didn't want Usmanov and Mashiri nowhere near Arsenal. Nowhere near the club. He wouldn't let them get involved. So then they come to Everton, and we can see why. The only thing he's delivered on, he has destroyed us. The only thing he's delivered on, and he promised us a new ground. Up to now, he's delivering. He can't finish it.
Yeah, but he's delivered a new ground. Like loads of people have been saying,
I would have preferred just to stay at Goodison, mate. I'm not bothered with that.
It's
But I
not
know
even
we
that.
needed it.
It's not even that. Yes, he's delivered the new ground. He absolutely has, and brilliant. Everyone keeps telling me Mashiri has delivered the new ground that Bill Kenwright couldn't do. Great, but at what cost? At what cost?
Well, the thing is, wasn't it something like 500 million quid, or 550 million quid at the beginning?
No, it's 720.
Now it's 720 million, and it's only going to carry on if no one if no one comes in with the readies to finish this ground. As I said before, it's another loan and another loan.
Yeah.
Ken Wright done it with that media company. I think they want £200 million back for £100 million loan or something. It's like 100%. Because these people and these companies can have Everton's kecks down because they know the financial situation Everton are in.
Which
but you've got Mashiri and Ken Wright who will just go along with it.
Which is exactly why 777 Group are circling, because Everton have no other choice.
Yeah.
Honestly, the club, mate, from top to bottom, has been run into the ground over an 8-year period. I mean, we said this earlier. It was awful under Kenwright before Mashiri. It was. But at least we had a team that could get into Europe under David Moyes. He did a phenomenal job in hindsight. You know, we had a team that won an FA Cup in '95. We had a team that we were proud of to a degree. We knew there weren't much money. We knew that Bill Kenwright wasn't great in the long term. But at least we had a football club that was plucky Everton. They were doing all right. And Mashiri comes in, tries to turn us into this
superpower.
This superpower, and what he's actually done is sent us so far backwards that we're not even in conversations anymore. And this is how far Everton have come, because when you sit there and you think that Everton were I believe, and I've said this a few times on this channel, Man United fans, Arsenal fans, Liverpool fans might be able to correct me, but I believe Everton were the biggest instigator in the creation of the Premier League. When the 5 clubs wanted to do a breakaway league, it was Everton trying to hold on to the power because they'd had a few years where they hadn't won a league title between, 87 and 91, 92, and it was their chance to get back in power, and Everton fell off a cliff. And the fact of the matter is, all of that has happened while one man has been at the club, and that one man made it even worse by bringing another man in that unfortunately was as bad as him, but had more money than him. And as a result, Everton have now got more debt than they've ever had before in their lives, a stadium hanging on their back, a team that isn't good enough, a manager that, in my opinion, shouldn't be managing Everton Football Club, but I do wish him all the best. I'm not sitting here digging him out. Sean Dyche was not where I saw Everton being managed in 2023. No disrespect, Sean. The club's finished. The club is finished, and us as fans, I don't know what we do. I don't know what we do. Protests, in my opinion, won't work. I don't know how we fix this, and we're just going to have to buckle up. We're going to have to buckle up, strap in, get through to the next few games, get into October, get this result of this financial fair play hearing, get into May in whatever league we are in, and go into this stadium in the middle of next year with whoever has funded it. Because it wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool City Council have to bail Everton out with this stadium, because they won't. But
then that'll be a loan off then.
It will be, and to be honest, I'm from Birmingham. Birmingham City Council has just gone into bankruptcy. So, I mean, the last thing Everton should expect is Liverpool Council to be backing them out. But
Liverpool Council will be looking at what's happened at Birmingham. For me, the only way out of it is if we get one of these Saudis in, or someone, as you said, who's interested in Man United comes in, buys the club, because let's be honest about it, 1.1 billion is nothing to these Saudis. When Man United want between 7 and 10 billion.
It took Chelsea a week to find a buyer. It took Manchester United one tweet. I mean, one tweet, and people were saying, "We're buying the club. We want the club." You know, they had the guy that owns Ineos. They had the they had the Saudi king. I think I don't know who it was, but they had people who were fighting over buying that club. Why can't Mashiri just come out and say, "The club's for sale. The club is for sale. Bids start at $500 million quid. Off you go."
We all know the club's for sale, but Mashiri's never come out and said it. Right, so I'll ask you this question. What we have been going nearly an hour now, so we will wrap it up. But Mashiri hasn't come out publicly, but we all know it's up for sale. Someone offered stupid money. Do you think as soon as he put a tweet out or put it in the press, Everton Football Club's for sale, do you think we'd be inundated with offers?
No. No, I don't. No, I don't. And the reason why I think we're not is because of how bad the financial situation is. Because whoever comes in will do. Well,
they've got to finish the ground. They've got to give Mashiri whatever he wants, clear the debt off. It's
the financial element. Before any transaction happens, like a bank with a mortgage, they do what they call due diligence. And I am telling you now, they will unearth something at Everton. I am absolutely convinced that something is not right financially at Everton. I am convinced.
Do you think that's why the MSP deal fell through?
Well, yeah, people keep on going on about this right to media group and that how they fundamentally stopped MSP investing about this stake in this football club. And MSP, very similar to when you buy a house. If there is a charge on a house that you are buying, quite often the mortgage that you have been offered by the bank will be pulled, because whatever that charge is, it means they have first dibs on whatever that charge is about. So, for example, if you've got a path at the bottom of your garden and that land is on your land, technically, they're giving you the money to buy land that actually isn't yours. Yeah. And with this right to media group, they've clearly got a charge on Everton. There is clearly a charge, which means this £100 million has to be paid off the moment more money comes into the club. So this MSP deal, where they say, "Well, we're going to give you 200 million towards the ground," is actually 300 million.
Oh, 300,
it's actually 300 million, because they have to pay MSP off first. I get it. I understand it if that is what's happened. If it's anything else, I haven't got a clue. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it.
So why do you think the talks went on so long with MSP? Why weren't they made aware of this media company loan?
John, I mean, honestly, mate, if I knew the answer to that, I mean, I could fix it. I could fix it. I mean, my background, I could fix it. I actually, I could unravel the paperwork and fix it. I could put people in the right direction. I have the contacts myself in my industry that I work. I know, but the fact of the matter is, it's toilet, mate. It's toilet. So,
I think it gets worse before it gets better, but as you say, we've just got to wait for October now. Get a few results behind us on the football side. See what happens in October, because this hearing could be massive for Everton Football Club. Massive.
Yeah. So, right. I think we should leave it there. We've gone 59 minutes almost. We have spoken a lot of rubbish. We've spoken some good stuff. It's been a pleasure having you back on the channel, John. When should people be expecting you back on? Because it's an open invite. You already know that. I mean, you're welcome any time.
Yeah. Well, I did say the other day to you that I was open to do more videos. So the footy will be back next week, won't it? So hopefully one more video before that, and then we'll try and get more videos around the football side of it when the season starts again.
Yeah, and equally, John's going to more away games now. But we did mention last season that we potentially try and do a couple of watch-alongs for some of the away games. That hasn't gone away. That idea. It's just been, with me decorating the house that we moved into and John taking his lad. It's not been easy for us to do, but we'll get one in there, like a Christmas special or something, won't we, John? We'll sort something out.
Definitely, when I'm not in the away game and it's on Sky or what have you, then we will do one.
Yeah, there you go. Guys, look, it's been a pleasure as always. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Make sure you go and follow John Maguire on Twitter. You will find him. He's always commenting on my thing. He's got a load of numbers after his name now. It's an absolute joke.
It's changed now. It's Johnny FC Maguire now.
Oh, yeah. So follow that on Twitter. Go and follow Blue Boys Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Make sure you send me a message. I'll probably not reply, but I'll give it a go. Lots of love. Keep smiling. Up the toffees. Peace.
Cheers, everyone.